AI can be destructive beyond our wildest dreams.
Beyond.
Wow.
And the perspective I'm giving here is this. We use it all the time. It's growing right before our eyes. Most people that you talk to, more and more people are becoming educated on it, and thanks to shows like yours and your ministry. But we use it all the time. It's weak AI, is all the things we're talking about. We just use it all the time. There's not some person sitting at a desk answering the Google questions for us. This is being done by what's been coded, and it is called artificial intelligence because it's not a human brain, but yet we're mimicking that with the technology we have. Now, I've talked about on this show before the advent of quantum computing. That is here. It's already been here. We have now learned through the whole mapping of the DNA genome and the storage of information that could be done in those tiny cells. Now through quantum mechanics, CERN, understanding the smallest particles of life itself, of matter itself. Now we understand about electrons and protons and the entanglement theory and how all of that stuff works. And I could describe it, but we don't have time. But the bottom line is, now we know we can store information and power in micro dots. And now we're learning how to put that into our computing world. So that speeds up not only the, excuse me for being redundant, the speed of how we operate, but more than that, it speeds up the amount of knowledge we collect, we store, and then we teach this artificial intelligence. It's like a child. You take a 2-year-old child, and I've got one in my family now, and it's amazing. The child learns 15 words a day and uses them in sentences, and they just keep going and going and going, expanding. A 2-year-old child. Well, this artificial intelligence is way beyond that. And so it takes all of this information that they're feeding it, and it stores it and can retrieve it instantly. Then they teach it how to retrieve it with algorithms. And so what's happening is it's getting away from us because now it's already because we know these things. I'm going to give the biblical aspect to it just right here.
But it's taken and just this last week or so and mimicked a woman's daughter, her face and her image and her talk, and she tried to get her to give them, I guess, money or something to rescue their daughter who was in bed sleeping.
This technology is being used in Israel, but
this is what Elon Musk is warning us.
But Israel probably has helped develop this more than anybody because there's
Israeli engineers are behind this.
But there's genius in Israel.
True,
some of the greatest developments in all have come from Israel. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is. Let me just skip to the biblical because that's where I'm going, and I want to make sure we get this in. This is important. So, but I just wanted to give a little primer of what it's all about and where it's going and why it's going so rapidly and why the people that are developing it are so terrified of it now, which scares me that they're afraid. You know, and,
Elon Musk was one of the early developers of AI. And he stepped back and he says, I'm afraid of it. I've written down what he has to say. Potential to destroy civilization and could alter life as we know it. And he goes on and on and on and on. And he says it's just something that is so dangerous that he said we ought to stop producing on AI for a while and analyze it and figure out what's going wrong.
He's calling for a pause on it.
Right.
So so man, and I didn't mean to get on this, but you brought this subject up, and it's on my heart. I believe these are things of the last days. You mentioned knowledge being increased. This is part of the knowledge being increased. We're living in a day, Mom and Dad and Grandma and Grandpa, that we never thought of when I was a kid.
It's leading up to the corruption of human beings.
Right.
That's what it's leading up to, which will eventually lead up to the judgment of God. And that's where it's going.
And let me remind everybody, this goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. What was the temptation? You want to be like
smart.
You want to be like the gods? You want to be like me? You want to be like us, the gods? You want to be like God himself? Eat of this fruit, which was not a literal fruit. This is metaphorical.
Right.
From this tree. What tree? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now we have this thing called the World Wide Web with branches all over the world. Reaches all out into the world. And metaphorically, we call it the World Wide Web, like a spider web that you get caught in, branches. And what is it? It is a mechanism, a machine, artificial intelligence of good and evil. I love technology, but I see the abject evil that's now pouring upon us. It connects all the way back to the Garden of Eden. You come up into Daniel's day, and we've talked about this here before, where Daniel, 2,600 years ago is shown our days. And then he's finally told, after he basically faints and dies 2 or 3 times, and the angel has to revive him because he's been taken into our day and he can't understand it. It blows him away. It's like science fiction to him, but yet we're living in it. Most of us don't even, we just take for granted. Hey, Google, do this. Hey, Siri, do this. Daniel saw that. And so did John in Revelation. And they freaked out. And so Daniel writes, and he's told, but look, you seal this up in the scroll because in the end time it'll be revealed. He said, until the time of the end. But what does he say about it? He says, knowledge will increase exponentially in those days. Now, you don't find those English words in Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, but the Hebrew words mean that. It says, where knowledge will increase, that word for increase is rabbah. That's the same word used when God says to the fish of the sea, now multiply, rabbah, and fill the earth. The birds, rabbah, and fill the earth. To Adam and Eve, rabbah, multiply, and fill the earth. That's an exponential growth. And Daniel's told, because in those days, uncountable multitudes, that's rab in Hebrew, will go to and fro over the face of the earth. That's shuat in Hebrew, which is what the eyes of God go shuat over the face of the earth. Satan said, I've been shawat over the face of the earth. I've been going to and fro. That means the whole globe. He says, uncountable multitudes will go over the whole earth, and knowledge, which is our word for technology, will explode exponentially, and then you're in the last days.
Wow.
And here we are, and AI is the living proof of it.
And that's the counterfeit, because Jesus said, go and preach the gospel to all the world. Satan uses that technology to get the counterfeit message out, so we can see the contracts here. But also here in Israel, we have the AI being used at a way, I don't know if it's used like that in America, but if you want to get an ID card in Israel, and you have to have an ID card in Israel because it's basically like a Social Security card in America, you have to have it digital right now. So we have a card. My card is in the room, I think. I could show you the card. It has a chip on it. Okay, so they can trace wherever you are by your ID card. They don't even need GPS in your car. So that chip that you have, that Apple just put out right now about that chip that you can put in your luggage and trace your luggage around, that it doesn't get lost, that technology comes from Israel, and that technology is already in the Israeli ID cards. So they know exactly where you are. They know exactly where you're going. Well, I'm waiting for the time where they'll release that information to Yad L'Achim, the anti-missionary organization in Israel, and they'll be able to track pretty much wherever you are, unless you leave your ID card at home and just take a Photoshop. What I do, I just have a photo of my ID because there's no chip on the photo. Not yet.
Wow.
And think how many times, I'm sorry.
And so that's what's happening in Israel right now. So you hear the AI is used at a different advanced level because Israeli engineers are behind it.